Today is a day that I've made a tough decision, and that's that I will be putting my name forward for the election ballot on Monday.
It's very clear that there is an appetite for a contest between candidates, and I have informed the caucus that I will be putting my name forward for the leadership next Monday.
I'm announcing today that I will be a candidate for the leadership of the National Party.
Judith Collins, Jonathan Coleman and Bill English, unless there are surprises yet to be had, and I guess that's possible. One of them will be Prime Minister in less than a week. They all join us live tonight. Welcome, everyone. We begin with Judith Collins, Papakura MP. She first entered Parliament in 2002 in the Clevedon electorate. She's now Minister of Corrections and Minister of Police. At 57, she is oldest of the three, although all are in their 50s. Formerly a lawyer with Simpson Grierson, she has a Masters in Law, and she was youngest ever President of the Auckland District Law Society. Welcome, Minister. Are you there?
Oh, I am. Yes, I am, John.
Why do you want the job?
Because I think I can do the best job going into the 2017 election.
And what will be best about it?
Well, because it's going to be a tough election. I think what we've faced so far has been tough, but nothing like we're going to face in 2017.
And what will make it tough?
I think it's going to make it really tough is that the world has been changing, that people no longer necessarily see the Labour Party as the opposition. It's very clear to me that the real leader of the opposition is Winston Peters. And we are going to have to get ourselves into very much standing on not only principle, we're going to have to make some pretty tough stands on issues, and we're going to have to excite and get out our base. But also...
What issues? Sorry, tough stands on issues, because, boy, it would be lovely to talk about those.
Well,
so what issues are you going to make tough stands on?
Well, I think this. If one of the biggest disappointments that I hear from when I'm going around the country is that we have not been able to secure reform in the RMA, for instance, Resource Management Act, to the extent that people who have voted for us in 3 elections have expected. And we've gone into every election promising, and we have not yet been able to deliver it. Now, I understand that's a problem with MMP. That's just what you have to deal with. But I'd also say is that we have to be able to reach across the aisle to people like New Zealand First and to work with them.
Okay. You're running for Leader of the National Party and therefore Prime Minister. Are you saying the biggest issue facing this country is that the RMA needs reform?
No, it's not the biggest issue, but it is a big issue, particularly in provincial and rural New Zealand. But I'd also say, and certainly to business, but one of the biggest issues that we have is to make sure that we have an economy that is continuing to grow. That means jobs for people, and it means jobs in provincial areas, and particularly in places like Northland. But it also is really important that we shore up law and order. We need more police. I've made this patently clear since my first meetings with the Prime Minister in June, and that is what we have to deliver on. But we also
so hold on a sec. Are you saying, as Police Minister,
yes,
you have been an advocate for more police and the Prime Minister has said no?
Prime Minister's not said no. The Prime Minister and I have been working on a plan on this. We have a plan, but I'm saying that is actually an area that we need to do more on, and we need to do more on, particularly around methamphetamine and family violence.
Okay, if you're stuck on the Southern Motorway, and forgive me for talking
and transport.
Yeah, absolutely. But sorry, and for the rest of New Zealand, if you're listening in Wellington or the South Island, forgive me for this question, but you are an Auckland MP. If you were stuck on the Northern Motorway or the Southern Motorway at the moment, and you are earning a job which doesn't give you enough to buy a home, and you are struggling, and your warrant of fitness is due, and the petrol is expensive, you do not give a damn about the RMA, and you probably don't give a damn about police numbers either. How do you talk to the people who float around between National, New Zealand First and Labour? How do you appeal to them in a meaningful way?
John, I'm the MP for Papakura. Papakura has all of those issues, but it also has transport issues as well. So when you're saying you're stuck on the Southern Motorway, you're stuck in gridlock most of the time. So we need to do a lot more on transport and infrastructure, and we need to think outside the squares into how we actually deliver that. So when I'm looking at these issues, I know that they're really tough issues. They're big money issues, but they're also some tough decisions. And there's one thing that I can say, and obviously this is about saying who's going to do the best job as leader of the National Party. going into that election, we're going to have a hell of a lot of tough issues and tough decisions. And I am someone who knows how to make decisions. Not everyone's going to agree with my decisions.
You polarize. You polarize people, but that what we're seeing increasingly is that's not a bad thing necessarily. I want to talk about Papakura. Your majority there in 2011 was 10,000. In 2014, it was 5,000.
Yes.
And that was because people had suddenly some disquiet about your character. Oravida, what did Justice Chisholm say about you in the Chisholm inquiry? Ms. Collins and Mr. Slater confirmed that they phoned each other often.
Well, actually, it's not illegal to have friends. And
so is Cameron, no, but it's about judgment, isn't it? Is Cameron Slater still your friend?
Actually, John, I don't ask you who your friends are. And actually, what I'd say to you is that
feel free to do so when I'm running for the position of Prime Minister. When I'm running for the position of Prime Minister, I would expect that sort of question.
Okay.
Are you still speaking to Cameron Slater often?
No, I do not speak to Cameron Slater often, and I am someone who answers calls, but I do not speak to Cameron Slater often. What I can say to you is this. I actually was exonerated by the Chisholm inquiry, absolutely exonerated. And the Prime Minister said to me that when he'd seen this report, he said it's the best report he'd ever seen in terms of very clear statements. There was no ifs, buts, maybes. It was absolutely exonerated. And what I think, too, is, my seat in Papakura, we had boundary changes before the last election. It is a very demanding and tough seat. But I can say this to people, is that people came out to vote for me, and they came out to vote despite what had been a huge campaign against actually me there. But you know what? They know this about me because I stand up for what I think, and they know this about me. I'm utterly authentic. I'm never going to pussyfoot around the place looking for a nice, comfortable place to have a position. I'm going to say exactly what I think, and I'm going to call it as I see it. And actually, I think that's what people want. And going into that 2017 election, John, we're going to need that, and we're going to have very clear policies, and people are going to have to know where we stand.
Okay,
and that's
two
what
questions.
I can deliver.
Thank you. Two questions before you go, and I appreciate that wrap. You talked about Winston Peters as being leader of the opposition. Could you work with him if you needed to work with him to get National back into government?
I could.
Okay, great. And would you offer him a senior position in cabinet?
We'll see how it goes, but I would have to do whatever I have to do, and that's one of the things. I think it's
potentially
really,
Deputy Prime Minister. Would you go that high?
Well, let's just see how we go.
Okay, Bill English is on the phone.
My view is very much that we have to do the deals that we have to do, because I know that a National-led government is going to be better than a Labour-led government.
Okay. And there speaks an on-the-record pragmatist. And the other question is, and Bill English is waiting to go next, and he's listening on the phone, would you like him to stay on as Minister of Finance if you become leader?
Well, obviously, I think Bill English has been an outstanding Minister of Finance and also a Deputy Prime Minister. I actually think he has put his heart and soul in it. And I'm not sure how he's feeling about me on this one, but I think he's been an outstanding person in those roles. And I couldn't rate him any more highly than that. He's been outstanding. But that's ultimately up to him, and it's ultimately up to our caucus. We have a free vote in our caucus, and we have to be able to have a free vote because we're a party that actually believes in freedom.
Judith Collins, Corrections Minister and would-be Prime Minister, thank you very much indeed for your time.